guys, Christina here from Redefine Creative, and I am back with our homemade kit collection for the love of homemade kits. And so this is a series that Hannah, Felicia, Megan, and I are all doing. And last week we showed you guys the kits that we had created. And so this week we are back with the first layouts that we have created with our kits. So each one of us will have a video up today showing you the different things that we made with our kits, or the first layout. So this will be the first of 4 videos. And so what you saw there in the beginning is I picked a few of the different materials from my kit, and if you want to see the whole kit, obviously you can anytime go back to the first video, and I'll put the link below as well. So what I tend to do when I very first start with a kit is I pull out just a few things that I want to use together. So that helps me to keep from getting overwhelmed with the amount of things that I have to pick from. So it gives me just a few, and it really helps the layout to come together pretty quickly. So I have taken that pattern paper with those hexagons, and this was one of my bonus papers, and I have cut it in half on the diagonal. And this is a technique that I do a lot. This is one of my, I guess, fallback layouts, you could call it, because there's so many different things that you can do with it when you have that half a sheet of pattern paper and then the half a sheet of white. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to do some packaging technique, and that's some color shine in teal. And I'm going to run this along the diagonal across that entire white piece of cardstock. And it's going to be so that just a little bit of it shows out from behind my pattern paper. And it's going to bring some emphasis to where I'm going to line up all my embellishing on this layout. And it also kind of adds to the theme because it's a photo of my son at the pool. So this is an older photo. And this was his very first time at the pool. And he was just very laid back and relaxed in his little floating chair. And so it was such an adorable picture of him. It was no big deal. He was at the pool. He was like, whatever, I'm just chilling. This is great. And so there you see I'm kind of drying off some of that color shine. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue down that diagonal piece that I cut from the bottom. A few minutes ago you saw that black piece of cardstock come in, and that's a template that I actually just keep. So it's the exact size and shape for that diagonal, because sometimes it's a little tricky to cut your 12 by 12 pattern paper that way. So I keep a piece of cardstock that's pre-cut and I can just use as a pattern because it does make it quite a bit faster, especially considering that I use this particular layout format a lot. And if you look back in my process videos, you'll see probably 2 or 3 layouts recently where I've done this. And they do all look different. Whatever you decide to do with it. Sometimes I use ephemera on the diagonal, sometimes I use mixed media. I think there's one where I have a glitter border. So there's a lot of different options that this layout presents. So I really like using this one as a fallback. And I would love to see if you guys create with this same one too. That would be awesome. So there you saw me add some pen detailing around the outside edge, and I did that all the way around. And if you noticed, I went twice around each side because that makes it so that I don't have to be quite perfect in my pen detail. So if you add 2 lines, it looks almost like intentionally sloppy. And here you see I'm taking my 6x6 papers and creating some mats behind my photo. And that stripe one is actually the back side of the inspiration piece. So that's where that one came in. And I did cut off a small strip on the bottom so that I can save that for later, because I am going to try and conserve some of that pattern paper so that I have it to use throughout this entire kit. And there you see I'm creating a cluster up in that top right-hand corner. So I've taken a frame as well as one of the pieces of ephemera from the Carpe Diem collection from Simple Stories. And so I'm putting those up in that corner with just a little phrase. And then over on the left I've added that captured, also from the ephemera pack. And I'm going to just layer it there with a frame. So I'm trying to bring in some of that gold glitter throughout the entire layout. And then I've also used some of the other ephemera down there in the bottom right-hand corner, along with another frame. And then here you see I've got those Studio Calico hearts, and I'm adding those in just the 3 different little clusters around the photo. And then I'm going to kind of make that frame on the bottom a little bit offset. And I also have, a few different die cuts stacked up down there. I did put that little hello on pop dots to make it stand out a little bit more, especially with all the frames adding some dimension. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab these black letters from that Amy Tangerine Calberteschi alphabet and add pool days. So my whole title is going to be Hello Awesome Pool Days. And then in this kit, I didn't have any enamel dots. So instead of breaking the rules on the very first layout and going back into my stash to find more things, I decided to pull out this sequin pack that I had put in there and was really excited to use. And I'm going to kind of use those sequins to mimic my enamel dots. So it gives a little bit of a different look, but it is very similar. And I actually like how it turns out. So I'm going to have 3 different clusters of those little sequins. And like I said, I'm just kind of mimicking the look that I would have of enamel dots because the collection that I made doesn't actually have any enamel dots in it. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish adding those up, and then I'm going to add some up at the top as well. And then I decide to go back and add some, I think this is off camera too, there's some black detailing, and I decide to put it on the diagonal. So where I went around the edges of the outside of the layout with black pen, I decided to go back and also do that on the diagonal, and you'll see that in the final photos. So I was really pleased. I used quite a bit of the pieces of things from this kit, and I didn't have to cheat and go into my stash and grab anything extra. And there you see the final layout. And so I think this is just a really fun summer layout and a great way to use up that collection I created. And so I hope you will like and subscribe and come back next week to see layout number 2 that I create with my homemade kit. And make sure you click down below onto Hannah, Felicia, and Megan's links for their kits so you can see the layouts they created this week. Bye guys!